buddy. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. I can't complain, and not too many people other than you would listen to me if I did.
Oh, you really think that? Okay.
Yeah, I bet you if I started complaining, we'd lose the one or two people that were going to watch this.
You'd probably lose me as well. No. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know.
So what do we got today? What is this?
I forget this gentleman's name, because my brain is fallible like that. Best questions to ask an atheist, and
All
since
right.
I think we're both atheists, we're getting double duty on
Hey,
this one, right? So
these would be the best questions to
to
ask
ask
us.
us exactly,
Yeah.
and I wonder if he means the best questions to ask atheists to see if they believe what they believe or something else. So I don't know. Let's find out. He
All
looks
right.
nice. I bet he smells
Handsome
nice.
devil.
Questions to ask an atheist? What do you mean by atheism? When did you become an atheist? Did you ever believe in God? What's your experience with Christians? What, if anything, might cause you to reconsider your beliefs? Those are the kinds of questions I like to begin with. Now, eventually, I want to get to the big question. Why is there something rather than nothing?
Why
Where
are
did
those
life
not
come
the big
from?
ones?
The origin of consciousness, objective moral values and duties.
Okay, this is a lot of questions. I just gotta I'm
Yeah, no,
already.
we're gonna have to rewind. I want to know why those initial questions weren't the big questions. Why are these the big questions?
And who is Jesus? But to
Your
me,
mom.
those questions are often downstream from first getting to know the person and hearing their story.
Oh, well,
Okay.
it's nice that he would want to get to know someone to hear their story in order to convince him that they're completely freaking wrong about everything.
Okay, so my knee-jerk take on this sounds like a strategy to be used in a debate format to try and I don't know. I hope I'm wrong, but it sounds like you're trying to use maybe an equivocation fallacy or a gish gallop to try and confuse somebody after presenting yourself as a sympathetic ear, to gain trust and something like that. But I don't know. Maybe I might be completely off the mark on this one.
It's got kind of a Ray Comfort feel where he asks a series of questions to sound like he's trying
What is
to
it?
get to know you,
Street
and
epistemology or something like that?
and then he hits you with well, you're completely wrong because you're going to go to hell, you stupid bastard.
Yeah, it's the banana argument.
Banana. Love that. Oh my God. I've watched that every once in a while just to remind myself how awesome it is.
Yeah, when you having a bad day.
Yeah. Let's go for let's go back to the first question and look at the
Yeah,
first question.
I'll let you run it.
Hello, wake up.
Best questions to ask an atheist? What do you mean by atheism?
What
That's a
do
really
you
good.
mean by atheism?
That's a really good question. I wish more theists would ask that. It's gotten to the point where every time I start a chat conversation with a theist, I always state, "Hey, I am this." And it's typically an agnostic atheist because that's my best overarching label. If you get to specific, like a specific God, then that label gets changed. Like I might just be an atheist. I might be a Gnostic atheist. I might be a Gnostic anti-theist, depending on how ridiculous the God claims are. But in general, I'm an agnostic atheist, where such that my usage of the term atheist is that I do not hold the proposition that some number of gods exists, end quote, as true. This does not mean I assert the counter to that claim, though. Over to you, sir.
I'm more in the anti-theist camp than atheist camp. I think I would be more likely to join in a conversation in order to balance the scales. If, let's say, for example, a priest or a rabbi or something was talking to someone in order to convince them that that particular God was true or real, to get them to join that religion, I would be active in joining that conversation in order to stymie that action, or to allow that person to consider other options against, or other evidence against, arguments against it.
Okay, so how about this? Even though that term that's on the screen right there doesn't apply to you, what would your definition of atheism be?
I would go with tried and true, an individual who does not accept the claims. I would actually go, and it's probably wrong.
Well,
But
this is your personal how you use the word, so it can't be wrong.
well, if theism and atheism, those words have a history, and that history is specific to God or gods. Whereas I would lump in, and I'd certainly admit that it may be wrong, but I would lump in any supernatural claim, whether it is a
Okay.
god or not a god.
Well, I'm not going to argue about how you use the word.
So spirituality or
Sure.
spirits in another dimension, things like souls.
Yeah. Cool.
Because some people believe in souls and spirits, but don't believe in
Okay.
God.
I've talked with atheists that think crystals have magical healing powers.
There you go. So I would say, yeah, I'd use just a generic term.
Okay.
Someone who doesn't accept the
And
claim that God's real.
I didn't mean to short circuit what you were talking about, you personally being more in the anti-theist camp. Did you want to elaborate on that point?
I think I did it enough. No.
Okay. Then yeah, let's see if we can muddle through some more here.
All right.
When did you become an atheist?
I was 40 years old. That's 8 years ago.
Yeah. My answer is less satisfying because I can't remember the exact date, but it was when I stopped believing in gods. That's when I became an atheist.
Okay. All right. Well, the other one's on the screen. Did you ever believe in God? Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the same here.
Did you ever believe in God? What's your experience with Christians?
Well, I was a Christian for 40 years, and everyone in my family is Christian. All of my friends in school were Christian. We went to the same youth group. We went to the same youth trips. All my neighbors were Christian. Most of them were my family. They were either Catholic or Baptist. Everyone I knew was Christian.
That's the quantitative experience. Do you have a comment on the qualitative experience as a Christian? You don't have to.
Yeah, I can answer that. I would say that because of that commonality, there was a stronger sense of connection between people that shared this faith because of the experience it gave us. Like
Sure.
going to youth group built friendships because we all went to the same church, that
Sure.
sort of thing.
Okay.
And the same thing with family. So if families that the old saying, families that pray together stay together, which isn't necessarily true, but I did pray with my family.
It does give an extra incentive.
Yeah. What about you?
Me. Quantitatively, I identified as a true believer, true believing Roman Catholic, probably until I was about somewhere between 14 and 16. The reason is that I had a healthy introduction to skepticism, the Socratic method, logic, and reason at right around that age. And that was the Catholics' own doing, because they taught me how to do that. So they taught me they started off by teaching me what to think, but then they made the mistake of teaching me how to think. And the teaching me of how to think undid the teaching of what to think. But I observed inconsistencies in what was taught in the faith versus what was practiced in the faith versus what happened in reality. And at a certain point, I was faced with the proposition, especially since I was engaging with non-believers and people that I believe had been led astray without their knowledge by Satan. And I took the Great Commission seriously. I really did. I was semi-evangelical before we met. You and I. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, because by the time we met, I had given up a large portion of Christianity. I still had doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into that. Anyway, but I spent a good number of years studying the Bible, and I tried to get as close to the originals as possible. And in trying to get as close to the originals as possible, I found that we didn't have anything even approximating the originals. And discovered about the Nicene Council and the hypocrisy that is evident in organized religion pretty much universally, in my opinion. And so initially I found my faith insufficient to support my belief. And in conversations, challenging conversations where I did not have good arguments to convince a non-believer that the truth was the truth, I sought out the tools that I was commanded by God to use to express and communicate the truth that was the Bible, God's Word, all that. And I found a disturbing lack of evidence in support of the proposition. Moreover, the more I tested it, the more I found that the opposite of many of the claims it made were true, whether I wanted them to be or not. Regardless of how much I prayed, shit wouldn't change. And I also found that the answers that I got in prayer were no more informative than the extent of my own knowledge. In other words, God couldn't give me answers I didn't already know.
Maybe your faith just wasn't strong enough.
Well, you made mention of being in tears, losing your faith. And I fought tooth and nail not to give up mine. Unfortunately, the way I work, which is the way I believe God created me at that time, was that I had to follow evidence. It was dishonest of me to just say I believed a thing when I didn't believe it. And I was incapable of believing something when evidence was saying, this isn't real. I'm kind of disappointed it took me as long as I did to reach the conclusion that I am an atheist. But, well, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so that's my quantitative experience with Catholicism and Christianity. My qualitative was that so long as I expressed belief and acted as though I believed, my qualitative experience was beneficial and pleasant. As soon as I began questioning anything, it became less so. To the point where I was seen as working for the enemy because I would question things and point out when the answers were insufficient to warrant the belief. Priests hated me. So, but yeah, that's my answer.
All right. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, brother.
So let's continue on. Get
Please.
to the next portion of the Gish Gallop here.
What, if anything, might cause you to reconsider your beliefs?
And I like the way he worded that. Not cause you to reconsider God, but cause you to reconsider the position you hold on God. As though God's real, you just need to change your position.
I'll tell you how I interpret that question here in a second, but yeah, go ahead.
That's how I'm hearing that question. He's definitely real. You're wrong. But what's it going to take to convince you that you're wrong? So what would it take? A short answer, a measurement. Just give me some kind of measurement that indicates the supernatural, and that opens the doors for measurements that indicate a God which further opens the doors for a measurement that would indicate your particular God.
Yeah.
But
Did you have anything else on that? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Other than that, an argument's not going to do it. Words aren't going to do it. I'm going to need some hard measurement.
Our answers are very similar. And depending on the release order and how I edit these videos, I might have already said this answer because it is the exact same when somebody else asked it. I interpret this question literally. So, what is it? What does it take to change my beliefs? Empirical evidence that is investigatable or testable via the scientific method such that the data that results from those tests supports the hypothesis. That is the basis for every single belief, positive or negative, that I assert. That's it. That is everything that changes my beliefs. Everything else falls in the I don't know. And I'm fine with that. What's the origin of the universe? I don't know. I'm not going to make shit up just because it's an uncomfortable place. Get comfortable with not knowing, because there's a whole bunch of shit I don't know. So yeah,
that's definitely just to piggyback on that. It's definitely something I'm trying to teach my kids.
Yep.
That was never taught to me. Is be comfortable not knowing something, and be comfortable asking someone.
And you know what? Sorry.
Else, and sincerely listening to their answer.
And I like to point out, it's not that I like not knowing, and it's not that I won't pursue knowledge about something, but it's just that I'm comfortable recognizing when I don't know something and being honest with myself instead of just making up some bullshit answer.
Well, that's certainly not the Christian way of doing it.
Yeah. All right.
But you already know that.
Yeah. Let's see where the next gallop takes us.
All right. Those are the kinds of questions?
Those are the kinds of questions I like to begin with. Now, eventually, I want to get to the big question. Why is there something rather than nothing?
Pause. I don't know.
I've got a better answer. I don't know. It's I don't know, but in a sexy voice.
That's better. I don't know.
Yeah, there we go. Much better. All right.
It really hurts to take my
life
class.
come from?
Life? Well, we know.
I don't know.
It's on Earth. How we define it.
Yeah,
the specifics of how it got here, like the step-by-step process, we don't know. But we know it's here.
Yeah.
We're live defining what life is.
Like the answer to this question currently is I don't know. That might be not very satisfying. Tough shit.
The origin of consciousness.
The brain.
Hang on, no, not necessarily the origin of consciousness. Like
it originates from the brain. That's how I'm going to interpret it.
Based on everything that I've looked at, and I'm disclaimer, I'm not a scientist. I have not studied the field of neurobiology. I have dabbled in the pond outside the pool of these subjects, just enough to get the bottoms of my feet slightly damp. But everything that I've read so far seems to indicate that consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. All the data and evidence that I have seen points to this conclusion, and zero evidence points to consciousness being capable outside of a sufficiently complex neurological structure that we call a brain. So, the origin of consciousness, I don't know. Probably evolution. But where does it sit? Right up there.
Agreed.
Objective moral values.
And objective moral values and duties. What does he mean the origin of those?
I don't know. Maybe rewind and give him another half second.
questions I like to begin with. Now, eventually, I want to get to the big question. Why is there something rather than nothing? Where did life come from? The origin of consciousness, objective moral values.
Okay, now he's just naming things.
Okay, well, he used origin, and so I'm guessing he meant to put like commas in here. So let's just assume he means the origin of objective moral values, which is this is just affirming the consequent and or begging the question, depending on how you want to phrase it. So no such thing as objective moral values. There is no mind-independent moral.
Well, it's not necessarily a mind. It's more of a spirit, independent of the body.
Are you trying to get me to vomit? Is that what you're trying to do?
It's like I can switch to the Christian hat like any time. Like
take off your Jeebus hat, Mr. Dillahunty.
It's funny because I hear both answers at the same time in my head. I hear the atheist answer and the Christian answer. They just I'm talking over.
Oh, that's funny because in my head all I hear is.
Yeah, I don't believe there are objective moral values.
Yeah, so
I don't think there's a morality outside of a brain making decisions.
Yeah.
And duties. And who is...
There's no such thing as objective moral duties.
Jesus, who's Jesus? Who is Jesus, John?
Well, he's one of my friends, Jesus.
Who?
I saw him just the other day. He's a really good guy.
Jesus, I would say, is a character in a story who may have been a real person a long time ago.
Actually, I was about to ask you something until you said that. Would you consider yourself a mythicist? If you don't know, then that's fine.
I'm going to say that I'm going to dodge that question.
That's okay, man.
By saying it doesn't matter if he was an actual real person.
That's my answer.
Or never existed.
Yeah.
The end result is the same.
No, I have the same answer.
These supernatural claims about this person, I don't accept as occurring.
Okay.
To me, those questions are often downstream from first getting to know the person and hearing their story.
Doesn't matter. I see zero. Oh, Sean. Hey, Sean.
That's who it is. Sean.
If you happen to accidentally cross our response to your video, we appreciate your production value and apparent honesty and sincerity in asking atheist questions. But I would say your first set of questions are probably the only questions you really need to ask atheists, because the other questions don't have answers, or they are so obviously false assertions that you don't need to ask them.
Yeah. If you're asking someone sincerely about their beliefs, that's perfectly fine. But if the end result is to undermine them at the end of the conversation,
I hope that's not the purpose. But like, I don't know. It's been my like that. No, I'm not going to go down the. Yeah, somebody clip me just going. Is there anything you wanted to wrap up with Sean here?
No. All I would say is that the questions at the beginning, they're just getting to know someone and what they think and feel about a particular subject.
Perfectly good questions. The other questions literally have nothing to do with atheism.